Oh, here we go. All right.
There
So
we
how
go.
you doing
I'm hanging together.
on this
Huh.
Monday night or Tuesday? Ha ha. I don't even know what day it is.
Ugh.
So, how did you get started playing music?
Um, hmm. My sister was a singer songwriter in the 60s, and she turned me on to the guitar, and I always wanted to be better than her. So that was my motivation. She gave lessons, but I refused to take them from her. But and then I grew up in Waterford, Virginia.
Nice.
I played in bands from the age of 9, actually. And the one constant guy is Mike Jewell, who ended
Mhm.
up being, you know, the the other person that founded Genghis Angus. So we played in bands in middle school, elementary school, middle school, high school, uh, and actually made some money. So Mike Jewell is he was a founding or a constant. He's played with a whole bunch of people. I don't know if you ever heard of him? He,
Um, Vaguely, just
there's
vaguely.
he books Monk's Barbecue now,
Oh wow.
but he was in a band called Less Traveled as well. So
Okay.
he was a drummer for, but anyway, let's not go down the rabbit hole. But so yeah, it was girls, and I couldn't dance.
That that checks out.
So yeah, and that a
Uh,
lot of people will say that, I bet. But,
Tell me about Virtual Machine.
Virtual Machine was a weird little sort of jazz fusion band in
Okay.
Blacksburg with Jim Ball, who is now he's in a band called Mercy Creek with his wife
Yeah.
Cheryl Neus Nystrom, and they're the hardest working band in the world, I think. Um, he and Steve Bolacek. They came from a band called Beach Zebra, which was very popular, but we just, you know, played in the last few years of my college virtual machine. So that's how I met Jim Ball, who's
Nice.
another seminal player in the end game. But
Nice. How did Angus come together, and how was the Virginia scene towards you guys?
well, I got out of college in '84, and I moved to a farm outside of Waterford, Virginia, where we took care of the Angus herd for free rent. So
Nice.
that's where the name came from. Um, we thought it rhymed, but whatever. It doesn't really. Um, so Mike Jewell and I were the original inhabitants of that cabin. It's a log cabin on this farm. Uh, and we had a 4-track Tascam reel to reel, and we spent about 18 months playing music, recording music, writing songs. I had met a guy in Charlottesville named Robert Bradley, who is a poet, and
Mhm.
my wife went to UVA. So I went to Tech. We're a mixed marriage, but um, so I met him, and we hit it off. He would give me uh, poems basically, and we would turn them into songs. So it was that's what the first record is. But we spent about a year and a half just smoking pot, doing ecstasy, and recording on the reel to reel 4-track.
Nice.
Um, and then it was the farm of a lady named Eleanor Adams, whose son Clayton Adams was in Boston. He's a musician as well. and he was in a band called the Free Time. Jim Ball from Blacksburg had finally graduated from college, and he was in South Carolina as a uh, like basically, I think like Homer Simpson at the nuclear plant. Job, and he was like, he spent like 3 weeks doing that, or and went. I got a call. I was like, what are you doing, man? And I was like, man, come on up. Let's. So he lived at the cabin. So the cabin started to uh, gain some magnetism, whatever. And so, and then Clayton, who I mentioned before, he came after Jim Ball, or, it kind of came together in, I don't know, 88, maybe, whatever. This is my misspent youth. So God bless you for being interested, folks. But anyway, Clayton was in more of a 80s band. And so we were writing weird rock and roll stuff, and he came in, and that's the first record is a lot of the blending of that. And then we that's after that we made an EP on our way to trying to, get a deal, whatever. And all this, I mean, probably from 80, shit, maybe, I guess 90. We were going to Austin to South by Southwest
Yeah.
whenever it started. We would go every year, whether we got selected or not, and play every gig we could find, whatever. And we played we played at least 2 times a week for a long time, and we all had jobs. So I've been an architect since 87. So
Wow.
registered, but I've had a job since 80. So I've juggled that the whole time, which is probably why I've risen to the top of the musical ladder. But so anyway, Bob Bradley was essential. He's a poet. He lives in Nashville now. He is a musician in his own right. He was like the early stuff from the first two real records were heavily influenced by him. Another guy, Curtis Olson, and Amy Olson co-wrote with a little bit. Jim Ball wrote a song. But the writing, I've done most of it except for the first record, which Clayton Adams did a lot on. And then we met. Well, actually, let me get this straight. We got a deal to go to Bloomington, Indiana, and record a record with Mike Wanchik.
Yep.
Who is, and
No
Mark Hood.
guitarist.
Mark Hood, who is probably the most amazing recording engineer I've ever met, for sure. But our first record was done at Q Studios in Falls Church.
Yeah.
With a guy named Ken Schubert, who is still there, and he's done all kinds of amazing stuff. If you've never heard of him, but you should look him up. But so we did, so let's continue with just the records. There was a Dust of Progress, which was done at Q, and then we got the deal to go to Bloomington, Indiana, which was, very fun. But we did like actual pre-production on a record, which is sort of your introduction to the hard work of actually trying to be a real band and make records back then. You know, so we spent I don't know how many weeks out there, but we did. We practiced, live uh, for a long time, well, several days, everything, mapped out everything and tried to make, whatever. It was our first introduction to, oh shit, you don't just like show up at the bar and
Right.
whatever. So that was my, can you see me?
No.
Because my
Oh.
dog is jumping all over me. Uh, anyway, we made uh, two records out in Bloomington.
Oh,
Uh, I think 12 days is definitely uh, the best. It's the high water mark, but
nice.
Echo Park was the other one.
Right.
And the studio was called Echo Park. And the first time we went, I think uh, the second time we went, Sunvolt was leaving. And the first time we went, Ben Folds 5 was
Nice.
leaving. So it was a nice studio, and uh, we were very lucky to have gotten that opportunity. The other really big part of the story of Genghis Angus is a woman called Kim Jensen, who we played regularly up and down the eastern seaboard from like North Carolina to Vermont. But stop that. What are you doing? My dog is scratching the antique couch. Sorry. So anyway, we were playing the Irish pub, I think, at Killington one winter, and this woman saw us play and came up afterwards and said, I really like this, I really like your band and your music. But at that point, we were playing pretty much all original.
Mhm.
So we started out, playing about 40% covers, whatever. But uh, we became an all, morphed into all original. But she came up and she was the CFO of uh, the Atlantic Monthly,
Right.
U.S. News and World Report,
Right.
and then Fast Company magazine. So she was a great human being. She really, and I don't want to get into whatever the story or
Yeah, I've
it was
in doing my
squashed.
research, I read up on it, and yeah,
It was squashed by very powerful people. I think
interesting.
like Mort Zuckerman didn't.
Wow.
Yeah. So you know, she, I guess she orchestrated like national tours for us.
Nice.
She orchestrated the last record, the 12 days record, which was, I think, the high watermark.
Well,
Um, as far as musicianship, songwriting, whatever. Um, but we gave it our all up to promote and tour with 12 days. We went across the country twice, I think. So, I mean, in a
yeah.
van trading viruses. And
Okay.
so, and I'm still trying to be an architect the whole time. So,
Wow.
superimpose that on top. But anyway, she somehow got called out by these fuckers. Um, and they accused her of financial impropriety, but to this day, I don't. I think they pinned something on her that was convenient because she got Steve Earle to play the Algonquian
Mhm.
in New York. One, one man, one guitar, and the, whatever. And that was through Fast Company. And, I think that's what they used against her in the end. But whatever. I don't know that. Uh, I smell something that I think it was a rough
Gotcha.
deal.
Yeah.
Anyway, the last thing I want is Mort Zuckerman after me, but
How did Wanchek even come into like the band's life?
uh, a previous manager named Brad Feynman, who was in charge of WUVT, or he was one of the managers in Blacksburg, the college station, which in the 80s was very seminal. He was our manager for a while in the early 80s, or I guess late mid 80s. And he would go to South by Southwest, and we would buy him a you know hotel room at the Four Seasons while we stayed at the Motel 2.5 or at James McMurtry's house. So and he met Wanchik in the bar of the Four Seasons. I think that's what happened, and said, "Hey, I got this band. Check out this cassette." And he called back.
Nice.
So we had a lot of fun. It was very, very hard at times too, but um, let's see what's other. Yeah, Kim Jensen she, you know,
Yeah.
she started to work with oh, what's that dude's name? Sorry. She got into Nashville and they closed her down. So anyway, and that doesn't sound right.
What was your approach to songwriting back in those days?
Well, that's changed a lot. Uh, the first stuff was sort of a poetic experiment with Bob Bradley. So
Uh-huh.
he would give me, poems basically, and we would put them to music. So,
Okay.
and that was, that produced some weird ass shit sometimes. And I think one of the Washington Post, uh, what was it, Richard Harrington, said something about needing a decoder ring.
Nice.
Anyway, then we got a little more stupid with the first Indiana record, which is called Echo Park. I don't know if you've heard that, but
Yeah.
that's got some, just it's more rock and roll kind of whatever. But that has more of a mixture of. There's a couple Bob Bradleys. There's some of the Olsen, Amy and Curtis Olsen. Jim Ball has a song, and then
Yeah. What was the distribution system like for these record companies? Did you guys feel like you had more regional success, or was there a lack of real anything?
well, the first real record, the first record was put out by us, and I think we sold probably 10,000 at
Yeah.
shows.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, and the second record, um, we got signed to a company in New York City called Midnight Fantasy Records,
Mhm.
and we were on the roster with the Junkyard, Angels and a couple other bands that you've probably never heard of, but
Unless you're like digging through Discogs.
right. Um, and they didn't do shit.
Sounds like it.
We tried to tour regionally, and that's when we met Kim,
Oh,
actually.
well,
So, and then she helped us make 12 Days, which, I went to the 1998 TED conference in
huh,
California. I mean, like, is that the first one? Like, whatever.
not sure.
I had, and Kim Jensen with, uh, you know, it was through Fast Company magazine. She took me and her architect to the conference and put a 12 days record in every swag bag for every
Nice.
like super genius in the world.
Nice.
And that didn't work. So
Right. Right.
whatever. Yeah. Some things, uh, you know, whatever.
It's clever.
Yeah. And yeah, well, it was amazing. But I did not deserve to be there, that's for sure. So the other person that's really seminal, we had 8 bass players. I should tell you that
Wow.
in the
Kind of like the
history.
Chili Peppers with guitar players.
Well, there's more. 8 bass players. Um, the first one who practiced with us, we had our first real gig in the city at the 930, the old 930 club.
Yeah, the original.
And it was like 1 week before, we were like, David, where's David? He's not at practice. So I mean, we all grew up in Waterford together. So I called his mother and said, where's David? Oh, he didn't tell you? He moved to Richmond. So we're like, oh,
Yeah.
fuck. So we called friends of ours, the Action Figures, which is another great 80s band,
Yeah.
um, out of Fairfax, whatever. We played with them a lot. But one of those guys agreed to be our second bass player.
Mhm.
And we played the old 930 club once, and it was awful. But we ended up playing the new 930 club at least twice. So but we played E-Town in Boulder, Colorado. We played Mountain Stage,
Nice.
uh, some festivals in Vermont. Uh, we played the Bayou a whole bunch, but
It's good.
so we toured as much as we could stand, that's for sure.
So you
But
guys were able to get around despite faulty record labels.
sure. Well, we never had a bulky record label, and the record label that signed us for 12 days was a Boston guys, and uh they stopped the record label and started like one of the first internet radio stations. Um,
Huh.
so they gave us all the product and said, "Here you go."
Not
So
nothing bad
so
about
Kim
that.
Jensen started Adrenochrome Records, which I don't know if you read Hunter S. Thompson, but you know what adrenochrome is.
Nah.
It's like the most powerful drug in the world, and it's harvested from the adrenal glands. I mean, it's like scary shit. But anyway, uh, so I think we sold, I don't know, between 30 and 40,000 of that
Yeah,
record.
that's pretty good.
And we got played around. People still, whatever. Uh, I'm trying to think of other good stories. I was about to say, uh,
Did you guys ever try to sign with the major?
Oh, sure. But,
Typical
uh,
story.
yeah, no.
Okay.
There was a band called Not Shakespeare in Blacksburg that had the best collection of letters of rejection from major labels on the refrigerator of their band house. But, but anyway, I wanted to say another really seminal person is Dave Galinsky.
Okay.
And he's the only manager in the music business that I've ever trusted. He's
Nice.
a wonderful guy. Uh, my friend, still my friend to today, and a good friend. Um, let me see. What other interesting stories? I sold James McMurtry his first electric guitar,
Interesting.
and it was my first real electric guitar. It was a baby blue Fender Mustang. I think it was like a 64, but he had it stolen. But so he and Clayton Adams, who uh, you know, grew up in Waterford. They both grew up in Waterford. So I knew them as kids. They're, I guess, 4 years and younger than me. But they used to come to see our bands play and like pick up tips from us playing. So now, James McMurtry is my favorite musician in the world. So it's it's amazing how life's flows. But I get a whole bunch of other interesting stories, but um,
This
what
kind
are you
of
interested in?
leads up into the end. Were you looking back, were you kind of disappointed that the band never like made it nationally, or were you guys okay being like small time?
Well, of course, we gave it a good 15 years of hard work, and but after seeing, what it takes to have the talent, which, I'm a decent songwriter, but I'm no Elton John or Steve Earle or whatever. Uh, but it was a fun journey,
Yeah.
and I write. Well, I used to write. I got into like 13-year hiatuses. So when Kim died, I I quit for 13 years, and then I met some guys around here who were pretty accomplished musicians, and the Bitter Liberals. Have you ever seen that across your radar? Or,
Can't say I have,
well,
but
we made
the
three
name is
records.
fantastic.
We made three records, I think.
Okay.
Um, just sort of locally, but there's a lot of songwriting on there. Um, yeah, and then the pandemic happened, and
Okay.
everybody was like, "We're going home." So I think I'm in my next 13-year uh,
Gotcha.
hibernation. So hopefully I'll live long enough. The
Yeah.
other thing I would like to tell you, oh, remaining time, 10 minutes, is Clayton Adams, the guy that his mom owned the farm and then he moved back and became part of Genghis Angus. He had an aortic tear and he survived. And he's living on the farm. We're building him an addition to that log cabin
Wow.
so that he can, as he tries to come back and gain mobility,
Hmm.
whatever, um, we're building an addition to get him in the house, have a bathroom, whatever, and an accessible, living space for him to get out of the main house on the farm and back to the original cabin, which, is sort of life coming all the way back around. And I, as an architect who, I was doing architecture the whole time.
Yeah, yeah.
It's sort of, uh, it's a weird connection back to how things work, but
Okay.
whatever. You should listen to the Bitter Liberals stuff.
All
There's
right.
a very good website because one of the guys is Gary McGraw, who is invented software security, basically.
Okay.
And
What led to Angus breaking up?
oh, well, actually, Kim got us into another level where we needed to commit to higher touring.
Okay.
And um, so unfortunately, Clayton was running the farm. And we had to, they told us, you can't, if he can't do the dates, then we're not gonna, you can't do it. So uh, that's how that happened, which, that was very hard, of course, but
Yeah.
that's how much we wanted it. We said, Clayton, yeah, we can't do it anymore. We have to. So then we went into hiring stunt guitar players. So we had some really good ones. Davey Moe, DC dude. Dan, oh shit, he played Mountain Stage. Uh, oh, sorry, give me a second. But we had several of them. Gary Smallwood as well. Gary Smallwood, do you know him?
No, I haven't heard the name.
Oh boy. Well,
Good guitar
he's
player.
he is one of the best guitar players around.
Nice.
You know Mike Alt?
Yes, I have heard that name.
Well, Mike Alt and Gary Smallwood grew up in the same market together in Loudoun County. And
Okay.
they're pretty much equals, I would say. But Gary Smallwood played on our last record.
Okay.
He played the second guitar parts. So anyway, you should check those fuckers out. That's for sure. And then a guy named Clark Hansbarger, who was an English teacher and a musician in Loudoun County, who I never got to play with because we were always in other bands and
Right.
grown up in Loudon. But we both live outside of Berryville, or he lives outside of Berryville. I live inside of Berryville. And the Bitter Liberals, the three people there are, the third one is Clark Hansbarger, who's a fucking amazing songwriter. He's got a Civil War record that you should check out. You can get a link to it through the Bitter Liberals
Gotcha.
website,
All right.
but he's there's some really good stuff. But anyway,
Two more quick questions.
good.
What do you think it would take to get the band's music available digitally?
Well, I think it is. Um,
I was looking up on Spotify and it's like teaching her.
hmm. Well,
Have
I
to
don't
do
know.
research.
Yeah, research. Well,
Okay.
actually, Dave Galinsky, that's
Okay.
that guy. Yeah.
All right.
You should meet him, actually, because he knows everybody. He was making a movie on oh, in Nashville on Cowboy Jack.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah. Nice.
yeah. And he knows everybody. So,
What do you ultimately hope Genghis's legacy will be?
well, I don't really have a whole lot of,
I love
yeah,
asking that question.
yeah, well, at my funeral, maybe they'll pick out an
Nice.
appropriate song, but
Nice.
I don't know. Fuck. I mean, we had a really good time pursuing that dream.
Cool.
My mother, God bless her soul,
Yes.
always taught me, or stressed to me to have a plan B. So
Yeah.
I'm an architect and I can hardly, you know, get a rest at this point.
Right.
I'm so busy. I haven't touched a guitar in an embarrassing amount of time, to tell you the truth. And I'm starting to feel the end of, or feel the power again.
Get the
The
itch.
yeah. I
Yeah.
need,
Nice. Nice.
yeah. Do you play, Pete?
I used to play drums a lot. I don't really have the space for any kind of kit or anything now.
Well,
I like to annoy my students at school by like banging on everything.
what do you teach?
I'm a part-time librarian in Charles City,
Oh, cool.
so
Very
I'm constantly blasting music while I'm working.
good.
Yep.
Very good.
Yep.
Well, I would suggest you look into the action figures.
Okay.
And they put out some amazing records, which there are CDs, I think.
All
Uh,
right.
Um, and I'll text you some contacts, but
Cool.
uh, you should also meet Dave Galinsky
All
because
right.
he knows everybody. So if you want an interview with any of the like really seminal DC folks, um,
Fantastic.
you can't do Danny Gatton anymore, but
Oh yeah, I'm very familiar with Gatton.
yeah, but he can't get an interview because he's dead.
Unfortunately,
I
was it 30 years this fall? I think
don't know. But,
something like that.
oh my God.
Right.
Did you
Right.
ever see it?
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
Got a couple of his records. Picked up a biography on him that was pretty good. I remember
oh,
on
how
yeah,
many?
I remember reading a lot about him when I was a kid.
Oh, well, Roy Buchanan was
Oh,
another
Buchanan too. Yeah.
dude who I went to high school with his kids.
Wow.
They were younger than us, but
Okay.
he was fucking nuts.
Yes.
Yeah, he
Hell of an ending to that one too.
walked into Melody Music and said something to the effect of, "I need some Thorazine to see the Queen." And like, okay, Roy,
Yeah.
what can we do for you today?
Well, thanks a
Whatever.
lot for taking time out to do this, man. I really appreciate
Well, hey, thanks for your interest in my misspent youth.
it.
But I
Anytime.
view it that I made some art that
Right. Right.
is did make it to a digital format. So,
No. All
it
right,
was
man. Have a good evening. We'll keep in touch.
okay. Thanks.
Thanks, man. Bye.